Hi there, my name's Campbell, and on this channel I teach you all things mixed media to make your art time super easy so that you can have more fun. Today I want to talk about fountain pen inks and why I love them in my mixed media projects. Now there's a lot of inks available on the market, and I want to give you a quick rundown about what those are and how you use them in your mixed media projects so you know what the difference is and what to reach for. Let's talk about the different types. There's fountain pen inks, which I'm going to cover last because that segues into the rest of the video. There's alcohol inks, India inks, and acrylic inks. Those are the big ones. So number one, let's start with alcohol ink. You can buy alcohol ink just straight up in little ink bottles, and you can also buy alcohol-based markers like the infamous Copic marker. A lot of people who are familiar with my mixed media hamburger system, and if you're not familiar with that, I introduced that to YouTube. It's how I do 90% of my mixed media projects. I published books on it, and it's just a layering system. It's a 7-step layering system of all of your mixed media products, so you know exactly how to layer them to get really stunning results. And a lot of people notice I do not use alcohol markers or alcohol ink in that process anywhere. And the reason is twofold. Number one, alcohol markers like the Copic are super expensive. These are $8 markers, so I'm not messing around and mixing them up with anything, because if anything happens to that nib, I'm devastated, okay? So that's number one. But the real actual most important chemical reason is that putting these on top of acrylics can actually dissolve and eat through those substances. So this is like a recipe in disaster. So there's two very important reasons why not to use alcohol-based inks in your hamburger layering system. Now, there's a lot of other ways to do mixed media besides the hamburger system as well. So you can absolutely feel free to use these as much as your heart contents when they are the base layer. You can add things on top. You just can't put these on top. So you can use these magnificently with colored pencils on top, graphite, and do whatever else you like to, but don't put them on top of anything else. So that's alcohol ink. Okay, the second ink I want to talk about is India ink. Now, India ink is permanent and it's light fast. Oh, another thing, alcohol inks are permanent, but they're not light fast. So that's also a big thing as well, if that's important to you. India ink is traditionally black, very waterproof, and very light fast, so it's awesome. You can also get highly pigmented variations of India ink. I really love the Dr. Peach Martin set. It comes with 12 markers. I use this as the base layer in my hamburger system example that I have in my book as well as here on YouTube. It's also the magic ingredient for my very favorite hamburger layering system product, my beloved Pitt pens. These are filled with India ink. So whether you use them from a bottle or from a marker, that permanent, light fast, rich pigmented ink is what you are working with, and it's insanely awesome. The last ink I want to talk about is acrylic ink. Now, acrylic ink is also very, very high quality, light fast, permanent when it dries. So it's great for layering under, over, anywhere on the hamburger. It's totally, I always feel weird saying that. It's totally appropriate. And so those are all great mixed media options. So why do I use fountain pen ink? What is the advantage? Well, I like it for a lot of different reasons. Historically, it's just used to put in your fountain pens. I mean, fountain pens have been around for centuries, or some form of, I guess it started with a feather and sort of got more advanced as the decades and the centuries progressed. But people still use fountain pens. I have loads every single day. And also a dip pen is a fountain pen that you can use that just doesn't have a cartridge or a built-in mechanism for holding the ink. So you literally dip the pen in the ink and then write with it. So why do I love, other reasons why I love fountain pen inks. One is this specific manufacturer called Noodler's has over 100 colors to choose from, and because I'm a mixed media artist, I'm like a color junkie and I like to collect all the different colors. Now, people might look at the price on Amazon. They range from about $12 to $20. Might say that's insanely expensive. They're actually the lowest cost per volume fountain pen ink on the market. And when you get a Noodler's ink bottle in the mail, it's 3 ounces. It is no joke. The normal size of fountain pen inks is typically more this small size, more like 1 ounce. And when you open a bottle of Noodler's ink, it is practically coming out of the top, every single bottle when you get it. They're also handmade entirely by one man from naturally sourced ingredients. Everything, bottle, label, ingredients are all manufactured in the United States, in Massachusetts, my home state. And the colors, however, is why I use it. Some of them are waterproof, some of them are light fast, some of them are water soluble, extremely water soluble, which I love. You can mix them with water. So I don't use these in my hamburger system because it would be a hot mess, but I use them almost like alcohol inks where you're using them as the fantastic base layer, and then you can add things on top like color pencils, pan pastels, permanent inks work well with them. Pens, they're just so rich and beautiful, and you should see the spreads that we're doing. So I'm gonna show you my favorite ways to use them, how to get things from a big bottle into a fancy bottle, how to put them into a water brush so you have more control that way, how to use them with a dip pen, and the different effects that you can see, and then my favorite way to swatch them as well. So here we have my little display. I started collecting these little bottles because it helps slow down the rate at which I was collecting new colors. So I had to deal with myself that as I couldn't have, except for a few exceptions, I couldn't have more fancy bottles than I had a number of inks. So it helped slow down the rate at which I was buying these colors because they're just magnificent. And I just like to be inspired by my art supplies as much as I use them. So I set my art studio up in a way, and I just did a video on this. You can click the eye in the corner and go back and watch, but I really do like to set my supplies out in a way that's inspiring to me. Especially, it helps just get over like creative roadblocks, especially because I have to come up with new lessons and new content almost daily. It's really important that when I look around my room, I feel inspired, and my little shelf of fancy inks definitely helps me to do that. So before COVID-19 hit, I would go to my Raleigh local flea market, I would go to antique stores and thrift stores, and when I was collecting these authentic little bottles, since COVID-19, I've been going onto eBay and collecting things. I just got this sweet little bottle from Romania. It was $22, free shipping all the way from Romania, and it's this very authentic, antique little crystal container that I love so much that I will go add a new color to. So that is just a fun way to store your inks. And then I want to show you right now the different ways that you can use them, and then also my favorite way to swatch. So I'm going to talk about 3 ways to use fountain pen ink. So the first way is actually with a legitimate fountain pen. And there are, I think, 9 different mechanisms depending on, or maybe it's 7, depending on the fountain pen. So this is a pelican. This one has a piston mechanism inside. So you actually dip the pen in and you twirl the rear end here, and it siphons inside the pen your ink. Okay, this is a Lamy fountain pen. This one is just a cartridge that you buy and you pop it in, and then you go. And then if you want to change colors, you can also buy like replacement cartridges on the inside. So if you want to switch colors out, you can do that. There's all sorts of different fountain pens. I'm not going to go into them because it's like a whole niche. So I'm just talking about them here very generally. And then my favorite fountain pen to use is just a dip pen because it is like really easy and quick. So an application that would be appropriate for. I was flipping through my journal trying to find this one, and in this one I drew with a fountain pen dip pen, and then I just activated certain parts of the face with water to get that really cool effect. So you can do a lot of drawing with it. But it's great for writing. So this was all done in fountain pen ink writing, and also this all was as well. So it's just, you literally, I'll use my teeny tiny setup because it's so cute. It just comes like this, and you literally dip your pen ink and then you write. So write like this. Okay, so you are writing to your heart's content. That's not actually a word, content. So that is a dip pen. And then I showed you this fancy one before, so I'll show you an up close because it really is so fancy. You have ones like these. This was $20, this whole fancy set, but it comes with different nibs, I think 5 or 6. So you can just slide this in here and then you are really fancy. And that was me testing all the different nibs out, and you dip it in like this, and then you can be fancy. Be fancy. Okay, and as you can see, I inadvertently swatched my hand through this. So this ink that I happen to be using right now is very water soluble. So as I said before, Noodlers has over 100 different colors of inks, and each ink, depending on what you have, will have different properties. So that's another thing. This is a whole, again, genre. They have freeze-resistant inks, eternal inks, which are supposed to last forever, bullet-proof inks, which are designed to stop forgery. They're also resistant to UV light wands, bleaches, alcohol, solvents, petrochemicals, oven cleaners, carpet cleaners, and stain lifters, and they're also waterproof. So that's the black that I use that's in this old scrubby bottle is actually bulletproof, because I like to put watercolors and inks over it and under it, and that way I know for a fact that my bulletproof black is not going anywhere. There's also, they're highly reactive kind as well. So if you like doing water soluble projects like this one, then they are designed to move freely. And I just want to show you real quickly, the vibrant projects and that you can get from the inks are just like no other. So this whole journal is actually filled with ink projects. This girl is ink, and if you can see right away how vibrant that is, it's just insane. You can tell this was not and this was. Again, the vibrancy in the colors is why I am addicted to using them. This thistle is a project we do in my mixed media society. These eyes are all done in ink as well. So that's a really fun way to swatch, but I'm going to show you this way in a moment. And as you can see, the vibrancy that you can get with inks is like no other. Now, a lot of these inks are not light fast and they will fade. So I do put them, I work only in my journals with using them. And I would not gift anyone an ink original knowing it could fade, but you can absolutely have these professionally photographed and or scanned. And then of course the prints will live on forever and will be in fact light fast. So I'm going to show you a really, really fun way to color swatch and what my favorite colors are, and also how to use them in a brush pen. So we had the dip pen, that's for drawing fine lines and details and or text. My second favorite way to use them is by putting them into a water brush. So obviously if you have them in a brush, you have a lot of control. So you might be asking, well, how the heck do you take an ink that's in a great giant bottle and transfer them into these water brushes? And there is only a single brand of water brush that I love, that I recommend, and I will put links to all the products in the description box. But that is this Pentel water brush. You can buy a 3-pack and they have different nibs in the 3-packs. And the way that I transfer the ink very simply is by using a little pipette. You can buy, I think like 100 for about $3 on Amazon, of course. And yeah, I will show you exactly how I do that. So transferring these is really easy. This is one of my favorite reds. It is called Widowmaker, and it is indeed blood red. So transferring these is very simple. So transferring the ink into my fancy schmanzel bottles, I just use like a little funnel like this, and I just simply pour it from the bottle into the glass. In order to get the colors into the water pens are just unscrew very simply. So I just take my pipette and I can insert it like this and very quickly fill up a water pen. This is a great option if you're traveling and you want to take your inks with you. Then you have instant access to that. And then of course these are meant specifically just for water, but come on, we're artists, we can get fancy. And then you just simply apply a little bit of pressure to get the ink flowing, and they do come with the caps, so you don't need to worry about that. But this is just a great way to very controlled experience. Maybe you're coming in, you're doing detail work. I like to do like lip on my girls, and you can just, you know, you can also do writing and calligraphy. And that also brings me to paper options. So I strongly recommend, if you're using anything water soluble or wet, to use watercolor paper. I'm not a calligrapher, I don't do writing, so I don't know if you were gonna do just writing with fountain pen ink, what the best option would be. So that I'm an artist and not a calligrapher, so I'm not sure actually. But anytime that I do anything wet, I always do it on watercolor paper. And remember, a lot of these are very water reactive as well. So if you add water, okay, they stay reactive and you can get amazing results. So it's nice to keep your options open, and using watercolor paper helps you have all your options open, because you can absolutely add water to dilute the colors if you want to. So my favorite way to swatch, especially if you have like a bunch of colors already, is to do this approach, or the eyeball approach is so fun. And so I'm gonna show you my really quick and easy way to do that, which is, I don't recommend using washi tape because then you like have to throw it out after. So I just use painter's tape to block out fun patterns on my watercolor paper. And you can use really thick painter's tape, or this is really thin paper's tape. And you have the power to make these rows as skinny or as fat as you like, and as many, you know, columns or rows as you have. But this is such a fun way to swatch. You can do that, and then you can just quickly lay out the design of your choice. Right? So fun. And then swatching is super easy. I like to take my ink straight out of the container because I like to see what it is straight up and not diluted. Because if I know the full strength, then I know I can always go darker if I want to. This also allows you to leave room for writing underneath if you would like. Yeah, you can swatch so cleanly and evenly as many colors as you want, and just keep in mind these are water soluble. So when I was swatching these other ones very messily, you notice some of these if my hands came in and I was wet, I accidentally dragged colors around, so just keep an eye on that. And then the result is, after you peel the tape, you have this beautiful arrangement. Now this was all a set, so I didn't need to label them because those were all the little tiny bottles that I had over there, so I can just eyeball the colors and grab them. But it's such a fun way to make a really even, this is so much prettier to me than this ugly mess that I made over here. So yay, boo, but that was too late, and that's me being in a rush. So I love doing this quick and easy tape, and then you can leave this on there for 2 weeks, and then when you're finally ready and you peel it off, you get this beautiful, bold, perfectly designed square. So that's like a really satisfying way to swatch. And I do indeed, when I'm doing all these projects that come out so bold, that is when I'm using them straight from the ink bottle onto my paper without diluting it. That's my favorite way to work. So next week I'm going to do a demo and do the same project with watercolors as I will with ink, so you can see for yourself the difference and how it works. So you can look forward to that. In the meantime, you can click this box on your screen and it will show you an ink face project that I've done recently here on YouTube, and you can watch and try it if you like. I will see you next week for next week's video.